UFC 294 takes place this weekend, and I'm here to give you my full card predictions and breakdown. But before I do, I would like to apologize for my lackluster picks of the last couple of cards. I've done my research. I've watched even more film on all these fighters. I feel even more confidence about my methods and rounds that I chose more if it went to decision. As you know how that goes, I feel more confident in these picks than I have before. Starting out with the early prelims, we have a banger on our hands of Bruno Silva versus Magomed Sharipov. Sharaputdin Magomedov, excuse me. Sharaputdin Magomedov is one of the most hyped prospects coming into the UFC in a while. This guy, he gets a lot of knockouts. He has power in the hands, but maybe not dynamite like a lot of people are making it seem like. I don't think he's going to go out there and just start Bruno Silva in the first round. If he does, holy shit. I doubt that's going to happen, though. Bruno Silva is 34 years of age. Yeah, he's 34 years old. He's lost 3 of his last 4 fights, and he's lost to pretty decent competition outside of the Jared Mearshart loss. He's lost to Alex Pereira, Jared Mearshart, and Brendan Allen in his most recent fight. He's got KO'd in 2 of these fights, or finished in 2 of these fights, and then the other fight he made it to decision against Alex Pereira. But we're not here to break down Bruno Silva. I'm here to pick Sharaputdin Magomedov. I think he's going to get this done by KO, but it's going to be a late KO. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to get this KO early. He's got the fucking power, and Bruno Silva's very hittable. I think they don't watch the tape. I watched the tape on this guy. This guy, when he fights an opponent he respects very well, some of his best opponents, he's very cautious at the start. He uses a lot of kicks in his game plan. He starts out with a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, and he just likes to keep it at range. He teeps a little bit as well. But what he does that I really do like in this matchup is he circles a lot. He's got very good footwork. He'll be circling. He's got very good cardio. He's athletic. Like I said, he's young. He's basically in his prime, 29 years of age. He's got power as well, man. And it looks like he has pretty solid takedown defense as well. I like Sharaputdin. I do believe in him as a prospect, but I think a lot of people are expecting a first-round knockout. I'm not. I'm expecting a third round, like I said, because I believe he's going to be cautious early. And the leg kicks, the body kicks, and he's just going to keep it at range. He's going to get the hands going, but he's going to be a little bit more cautious on the hands and just target more of the investment shots early. And he'll try to look towards maybe a round 2, round 3 KO. But also look out for the knees as well. He's got very nice knees. And what does scare me about him, this is the only thing I really watched and I was like pretty scared about, is he throws a spinning back fist out of range for no reason sometimes. I'm like, well, fuck. That might not work out sometimes, you know? But like I said, dude, this guy's a lot more technical than a lot of guys are giving him credit for. He might look like an inbred retard, but we accept him, right? He's a technical one, okay? Bruno Silva can starch him in round 1 or round 2. Bruno Silva has a lot of power in the hands. He's got solid boxing, but he's shown to struggle against some of the guys that either give him a takedown threat or show him the ability to kick his legs like an Alex Pereira. And another thing that I do want to mention is when it hits round 3s, this guy tends to fade. I don't think he has the greatest cardio, whereas I think Sharaputdin Magomedov does. He's shown, he's KO'd guys in the 3rd round. He's made it to decision with barely breathing all that heavy. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, he got finished by Jared Mearshart in round 3. And against Alex Pereira, he is worst round in round 3. Alex Pereira, if there's another minute on that fight, he probably KOs Bruno Silva. And Jared Mearshart clipped Bruno Silva in round 3, basically knocked him out and eventually decided to latch up the submission and finish him that way. But Bruno Silva doesn't have the greatest cardio. Sharaputdin, like I said, very athletic, great cardio, fucking starts out very cautious, very technical, great defense, circles. There's a lot of reasons why to like this guy in this matchup. I'm giving him like a 65% chance to win this fight. And like I said, round 3 KO. Moving on up the card, we have Jinh Frey versus Victoria Dudakova. Jinh Frey does not have a good style when it comes to the judges. She doesn't land many shots. When she takes her opponents down, she doesn't do much damage at all, which is why I think she hasn't really got the decisions to go her way in her career. In her last 3 fights, you can argue that she won 2 of them. The Elise Reed fight and the Vanessa Demopoulos fight. But with that being said, Victoria Dudakova is a girl, my bad. Basically the same thing, man. This guy's pretty masculine, but this girl's pretty masculine. Whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying. Victoria Dudakova has pretty solid wrestling, and I think she's going to have the wrestling advantage here. She's coming out of Russia, and she is a Russian female grappler. She looks for the finish on the ground, and her hands do not look that bad. I think she's better everywhere in this matchup. Her cardio we haven't seen too much of. It doesn't look fantastic from what we've seen so far, but she's shown that she has very good takedowns, and she'll look for the finish. Jinh Frey is a girl that I can't trust to win fights, especially when it comes to judges, because when she wins, she typically wins by decision. And she doesn't have a decision-friendly style. That's the truth of it. Victoria Dudakova is going to take her down, overwhelm her with volume, land a lot of shots on her in round 1, get a lot of the positional control, be dominant with positions, and then it's going to come to round 2. She's going to overwhelm her with the shots, and Jinh Frey is going to give up her neck for a rear naked choke. Moving on up the card. We have Nathaniel Wood versus Mohammad Naimov. Mohammad Naimov is coming off a win against Jamie Mullarkey, which was, impressive, the fact that he beat Jamie Mullarkey. But in my opinion, Jamie Mullarkey was very dumb in this matchup. He was asking to get KO'd, the way he was putting his chin out there, the way he was striking with Mohammad Naimov. Mullarkey was having a lot of success until he was getting KO'd, finding himself on the other end of the KO spectrum. Mohammad Naimov's not a guy that I believe in all that much. I don't really believe in his wrestling. I don't really believe in his striking. He's a very sloppy striker. And Nathaniel Wood is a guy that I do believe in. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because I'm pretty confident in Nathaniel Wood. I'm giving him like a 70% chance to win this fight. I'll say 75% chance to win this fight. I don't like Mohammad Naimov here. Nathaniel Wood's a guy who's good cardio. His chin seems to be solid, but he is undersized for the featherweight division. However, he's going to be able to keep Mohammad Naimov at range. Mohammad Naimov's striking is very, very sloppy. And I trust Nathaniel Wood to keep his chin tucked or stay at range, whereas Jamie Mullarkey, I can't really trust to do that. Nathaniel Wood has very good leg kicks. He invests with shots, and he also, he's good rangy strikes. This guy is a guy to look out for. He's got solid takedown defense, so even if Naimov does shoot the takedowns, they'll get stuffed more than likely. And if he gets taken down, Wood's going to get back up to the feet. He's got good cardio. He's going to land a lot of strikes, and it's going to be a 30-27 decision. I could see Wood overwhelming Naimov with strikes and getting the KO in round 3. The reason why I didn't go with the late KO is just because he wasn't able to finish Charles Rocha, which, in my opinion, is a guy you should be finishing. But Naimov, not a guy that I overall believe in his skill set. If this is a fluke win by Naimov, I'll be kind of pissed off because I actually do like Nathaniel Wood, and he is a fun prospect going forward. He might not get the KO a lot, but he's a fun fighter. Moving on up the card, we have Anshul Jubli versus Mike Breeden. Anshul Jubli is a guy who impressed me a lot in his last fight. He fought a guy named Jake Sedriques. I don't know if I said that correctly, but it's similar. Jake was a guy who had dynamite in the hands, a lot of power, and maybe not the greatest counter wrestling as we saw, but Anshul Jubli was a guy who was smart enough to say, my best chance to win this fight is on the ground. I'm going to take this guy down. And Anshul Jubli has pretty decent striking on his own. I think he can win this fight with the striking, but I would prefer him to take this down to the ground. So what I think is going to happen here is Anshul Jubli is going to go in, strike a little bit, Mike Breeden, have some success, and then time a takedown beautifully. Mike Breeden's going to get put on his ass. He's going to try to find his way back up to the cage. But Anshul Jubli has good BJJ. And he's very solid at keeping fighters back down or getting them back down to the mat or even keeping them there in the first place. I think he's going to be able to find the positional dominance. And he's going to be able to KO him in the first round. But I could also see him, not finding this KO, playing it a little bit more safe, making sure he keeps some cardio in the tank. And I could see him playing a much more passive, not passive, but the word's coming to me. Give me a second. He's just not going to try to finish him. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what the word for that is, but he's going to be a little bit more passive, whatever the fuck that means. He's not going to try to finish him. He's not going to chase the finish, but he's going to overall just chase the decision. Make sure he doesn't have volume on the ground to secure the decision win. He's going to work in his grappling a lot here, but if this does stay on the feet, I like him in the matchup as well. I really like him in this match. I'm going to say he got a 75% chance to beat a guy like Mike Breeden. Mike Breeden's a guy who's coming off a KO loss against Terrence McKinney. He's also been KO'd by Alexander Hernandez, and he lost by Natan Levy. Natan Levy was able to take him down and win by decision. And Anshul Jubli is a guy where I like his takedowns as well, if on the same level as Natan Levy, or if not a little bit better. Plus, I think Anshul Jubli probably has better striking than Natan Levy as well. And Mike Breeden, the way he wins this fight is just by being a dog, being tough, walking forward, eating shots, and potentially landing a very powerful shot on Anshul Jubli. But I don't think that's going to happen. All logic tells me it's not going to happen. I'm going to trust in my Indian brother to get this one done. Moving on up the card, we have Sedriques Dumas versus Abu Azaitar. I'm taking Sedriques Dumas in this matchup. Abu Azaitar is a guy where you look at and you're just like, why is he still in the UFC? Not based off his record, based off the fact he hasn't fought in 2.5 years, and he's 37 years of age. And you're probably familiar with his brother, Ottman Azaitar, who's been fraud checked a lot recently as well. That's not the reason why I'm picking him. Abu Azaitar is fighting at middleweight, and this guy is 5'9". He's dumb for not cutting the weight to get to welterweight, if not even a fucking lightweight. He's not the size of a middleweight. And Sedriques Dumas is a guy who's 6'2" and a solid size for a middleweight. He's got power in the hands. He's got the range. He's going to find success on the feet. I think he's going to clip Abu in the first round. He's not going to finish him. It's going to go to the second round, and then he's going to find a finish there. Both of these guys don't have great cardio, but if I'm going to favor anyone, I'm going to say Sedriques Dumas. Like I said, round 2 KO. And he could also get the submission. I trust him a little bit more in the ground game as well. Abu Azaitar is not that good of a fighter. Why is he still in the UFC? He's going to fucking get knocked out. But I could see him winning this, weirdly whatsoever. I think this should be a mainly striking fight, but I'm going to trust the more rangy guy, the younger guy who's entering into his prime, should be making the improvements, whereas an Abu Azaitar probably just picked up a mitts last week. He doesn't seem committed to the sport at all. Like I said, 37 years of age. He's a shrimp. He's a fucking midget. Sedriques should get this done, and Sedriques is not all that good of a fighter. I'll tell you that much right now. I don't believe in either of these guys all that much, but I don't believe in Abu Azaitar more, if that makes sense. So I think Abu Azaitar is more ass. Moving on up the card. Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry. I'm going to be picking Javid Basharat in this matchup, and I think he has the advantage everywhere. But Victor Henry can cause problems for anybody. He's pretty solid wrestling defense. He's shown the ability to get back up to his feet. He has an impressive win over Raoni Barcelos, but he also lost unimpressively to Rafael Assunção. And what Rafael Assunção brought was very good movement, very good footwork, and making it hard for Victor Henry to make it into a brawl, a dogfight, which is where Victor Henry will succeed the most. Javid Basharat has very good footwork as well, and he can keep this fight at range. He's very good at keeping it at range, staying out of risks, staying out of danger, taking as little risk as possible, and that goes for the same as his grappling as well. I think he's going to keep it at range, have some success on the striking, but he's not dumb. He's going to know to take this fight down to the ground. He's going to time a perfect takedown against Victor Henry and keep him there for the rest of the round. And we're going to see pretty much all 3 rounds look this way. He's got good cardio. He seems to have very solid fight IQ. He has submission ability, but overall, neither of these brothers really have that much of finishing ability. They like to play it passive. They like to secure their victory, kind of dominate via schooling. They like to school their opponents, I guess. Maybe not but they school their opponents more times than not. Every fight so far in the UFC, we've seen Javid Basharat win by decision, and we haven't really seen him chase the decision, or chase the finish, which I don't really want him to do in this matchup against a Victor Henry, especially not in the feet, because Victor Henry, he's no one to play with. I was there when he fought Raoni Barcelos actually at UFC 290, and the guy fucking shocked a lot of us, and he turned everyone into fan favorite because he just walked forward, 8 shots, and made it a dogfight. Moving on up the card, we have Trevor Peek versus Mohammad Yahya. Going into this fight, I thought Trevor Peek, I'm not going to be picking him in another matchup anytime soon. I love Trevor Peek. He's a fun, exciting guy. When he's on the prelims, I want to tune in because this guy is in non-stop bangers and he's a very fun style. Maybe not the most technical. Maybe, when I watch it, I'm not the most proud of the sport and how this guy is a professional athlete of the best mixed martial arts organization in the world. But fucking he's fun. He's entertaining. So I like the guy. And I thought after his last fight against Chepe Mariscal, he got exposed. And I would not be picking him again. Ever again. And I thought he was going to lose his next matchup and probably get cut from the UFC. He wasn't going to find much success going forward in the UFC. And then Mohammad Yahya, the guy who somehow got signed to the UFC, is now in here. Mohammad Yahya, based off the name, I thought, okay, this guy's going to grapple, and he's probably got a grapple-heavy approach, and he's just going to out-grapple Trevor Peek. And then I watched the film. Mohammad Yahya is a very bad kickboxer, not very technical, and he's very hittable. And if Trevor Peek can hit you, he can knock you out. Mohammad Yahya does have some power in his own right, but the problem is Trevor Peek is a dog. He's very hard to finish. And the way I see this fight playing out, Yahya will land on Trevor Peek, and then Trevor Peek's just going to out-fucking dog him. I think it's going to be a banger of a first round, but we're going to see Trevor Peek get hit, and then he's going to recollect himself and then just go crazy. He's going to get a late round 1 KO. Mohammad Yahya is way too hittable for me to pick him in this matchup, and he doesn't shoot takedowns. I can't trust him against Trevor Peek, who's too wild and too powerful for me to pass up here. Moving on up the card, we have Tim Elliott versus Muhammad Mokaev, and I think Tim Elliott is a great underdog here. I'm giving him like a 45% chance to win. Muhammad Mokaev, I'm still picking because He's got cardio. He showed to me that he's very tough in his last fight. I like a guy that's a dog. He's 23 years of age. He's going to be the guy that's improving. And Tim Elliott's shown that he can get taken down in his fights. He's got good submissions, and he likes to pressure. He'll walk forward. But I can't trust him here because when you're able to get taken down, I can see a guy like Mohammad Mokaev walking forward, taking you down, finding the positional control and finding the dominance. But I could also see Tim Elliott throwing up submissions, potentially catching Mokaev in a submission, or even having success in the, the striking if he's able to get back up to his feet. I think Tim Elliott will steal around by being able to get a striking going a little bit and getting his way back up to the feet and threatening submissions against Mohammad Mokaev, probably in like the first or second round. But then I think Mohammad Mokaev will be able to take him down and have a lot more success with the wrestling outside of that round. I'm betting on the ability for Mokaev to improve because he's the younger fighter here and he's shown that he has cardio and he's a dog. So that's what I'm betting on in this fight. Mokaev by decision, like I said. And moving on up the card, we have Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. Muin Gafurov is coming off a loss against John Castaneda. And I don't really believe in this guy at all. I don't believe in his skills. He has some power, but he walks forward. He's a very sloppy, boxer. He could somehow clip Saeed Nurmagomedov, but Saeed Nurmagomedov, in my opinion, beat Jonathan Martinez, who proved himself to be very good in his recent fight against Adrian Yanez. Saeed is a very good striker. He's got very good submissions, and he's shown holes in his wrestling, but he's also shown abilities to stop the wrestling as well. So the main person he did struggle with his wrestling against was Saeed which was a guy that I really believed in. And Saeed was having a lot of success with the wrestling until he got submitted by Saeed. Muin shoots in very sloppy takedowns. Saeed might even be the better wrestler here. I don't know if Gafurov's better anywhere than Saeed Nurmagomedov, but Saeed Nurmagomedov gasses hard in round 3. So that's an interesting, part to this fight. But I would say Saeed Nurmagomedov's probably got a 65% chance of winning this. I think he's 1,000% times the striker of a Muin Gafurov, and he's going to have so much success in the first round. He's going to be able to stuff the takedowns of Muin, keep it on the feet, and just outclass him in round 1. And then round 2, he'll find a good shot. Muin will shoot in on a bad takedown, and he'll latch up a Darce choke in round 2. Moving on up the card, we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Warley Alves. I'm picking Ikram Aliskerov in this matchup. He's got very good wrestling. Warley Alves is a guy who's been at welterweight. He's moving up on short notice against Ikram Aliskerov, who is a very big guy for the division. If I'm not mistaken, he missed weight on the regional scene making middleweight. Like, this guy is big, man. His only loss is to Khamzat Chimaev, who is coming up, and you will see my prediction for that. But he's a very good grappler. He's going to be able to take Warley Alves down. And then from there, I think he's going to rain down ground and pound. Warley Alves is a guy who has a win over Colby Covington, but that was a long time ago against a young Colby Covington. He's got good submissions and has good power in his hands for welterweight, but that's not going to affect Ikram Aliskerov. I think Ikram can find some success on the feet. Then he'll shoot a takedown like a minute or 2 in, and then from there, I could also see him just shooting a takedown super early as well. But I see him finding the dominant position on Warley and getting the KO in round 1. Moving on up the card, Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, man, dangerous, explosive, and that will cause problems for Ankalaev. I think he's going to clip Ankalaev in round 1, stun him, and Ankalaev's going to be fucking scary. He's going to be, holy shit, I got clipped. I didn't expect that. Johnny Walker is not a guy that I view as very technical. How did he hurt me? It's because he's explosive, and Ankalaev had problems against a guy like Thiago Santos, who is pretty explosive but does have power in his hands. Walker is the definition of dangerous and explosive for the division. But as you know, Johnny Walker is very, very dangerous. He's got good submissions, very powerful hands, but he has a bad chin as well. I'm picking Ankalaev by decision. I see a lot of people saying, oh, Ankalaev is going to get the KO because he said he's going to push for the knockout and push for the finish. But I think after he gets dropped in round 1, he's like, all right, fuck this. I need to get the win. I'm going to have to make this technical. I'm going to stay at range. I'm going to use teeps to the body, leg kicks, get my jab going. I'm going to be circling a lot. I can't get touched by this guy, Johnny Walker. I think he's going to survive the first round, lose the first round, but then rounds 2 and 3, he's going to find some success, and Johnny Walker is going to stay at range. And Ankalaev is going to win by decision, and then they're somehow going to home out of getting a title shot. Moving on up the card, we have Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. I'm going to be taking Khamzat Chimaev, and I would have taken him against Paulo Costa as well by first round knockout. I thought Paulo Costa's power was being overrated, as well as his wrestling defense just because of his physique. It looks like he would have a lot of power and a great wrestling base, but in reality, he's not as good as a fighter as people are making him seem like. Marvin Vettori was able to take him down, and Marvin Vettori outstruck him. So that should tell you enough about that. Obviously, it's a more complex breakdown than that, but I was pretty damn confident Khamzat Chimaev was going to find a way to get Paulo Costa out of there, or at least win by decision. Kamaru Usman is a much harder fight in my opinion. Kamaru has very great straight punches. He has a very powerful jab, and more importantly, he has very great takedown defense. So this should be a mainly striking fight. I'd be pretty surprised if there's a lot of grappling in this fight. I think there will be grappling, and I will tell you why. I think Khamzat Chimaev is eventually going to clip Kamaru Usman, and he's going to take it down on the ground because Kamaru Usman can be really hard to get out of there. If you don't flatline Kamaru Usman, which is the only time we've really seen him be out of there, was against Leon Edwards, was when he was flatlined off a perfect head kick. I don't think Khamzat's going to flatline Kamaru. I think he's going to clip him and then take him down and ground and pound him on the ground in the second round. Because in the first round, I see Khamzat Chimaev looking towards his leg kicks, looking towards his teeps to the body, getting his jab going, being a little bit more technical, because he's going to go into this fight respecting Kamaru Usman more than I think he respected Gilbert Burns. In the Gilbert Burns fight, he started out with his leg kicks, which he was having success with, and then it became a war, and he kind of abandoned them and went for more of a brawling type of style, entertaining the fans, and you could just tell he got really amped up in there. I think he's going to be a little bit more technical in this matchup. I think he's going to clip Kamaru in round one. Kamaru's going to be rocked, and he's not going to be able to finish him. Kamaru's going to hold on to the clinch, and he's going to get out of the bad situation and eventually survive into round two, where we're going to see Khamzat clip him again, and then he's going to take him down and ground and pound him on the ground from behind up against the cage. And we're going to see a second round KO just because of the pressure of Khamzat Chimaev. Moving on up the card, we have the main event, which is Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. I'm going to be taking Islam Makhachev. I'm cheering for Volk in this matchup. I really respect him. He's 35 years of age, though. And obviously, it's short notice. His cardio is probably not going to be what it was, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as some people are making it seem like. Volk is genetically gifted when it comes to cardio. I understand he trains a lot, and he probably trains really hard to get his cardio to where it is, but he's genetically gifted as well. And I think it was 11 days notice. He's going to be able to get a decent amount of his cardio back. I'd say probably like 75% of his cardio back. And the reality of it is, if he needs to preserve his cardio, he can against a guy like Islam Makhachev, because Islam Makhachev is a counter puncher, and he times his takedowns very well, and he kind of waits for Volk to either overextend. He likes to time the takedowns within a striking exchange. I think we saw that in like the second, or I believe the third round, I believe it was. He's very good at timing takedowns within striking exchanges or timing counters within striking exchanges. He's not the guy that's leading the dance most of the time. Does he sometimes? Yes, but for the majority of the time, especially in the first fight, we saw that Volk was the guy leading the dance. I think Volk is going to lead the dance, though, here. I think he is going to go for the finish like he says in his interviews. But in my opinion, I think he can realize, hey, I can slow this down for the first 2 to 3 minutes and then put on the pace for the final 2, preserve my cardio, and win these rounds. He can win this by decision. I think it's split down the middle for me in terms of where I would pick Volk if I was picking him between decision and KO. I'm giving him like a 45% chance to win this fight, simply because I think he's the most skilled fighter in the UFC and potentially of all time, man. I think he's the best striker in the UFC. I have immense respect for him. He's got great wrestling, and he had a big wrestling camp, last camp against Yahya Rodriguez, because he used his grappling a lot against Yahya Rodriguez, and he looked very good. He timed the takedowns very well, and his grappling impressed me in that matchup. I just feel like he's going to go out there and make it a little bit more wild than he should, when in reality, what I loved in that fight were straight punches, and where he would technically do a stance switch, pull out the guard of Islam Makhachev. I love that combo that he did in the first round. I think the straight punches are his way to win. If he's going to rock Makhachev, it's probably going to be a straight punch, because it's going to get there much quicker than Makhachev expects. And we've seen time and time again that these quick punches that fighters aren't expecting coming rocks a fighter when they pretty much should not. I think, though, Islam Makhachev has the easier adjustments to make. I've heard that term flying around all fight week, and I think it's true. If this was a full fight camp, I think I would lean towards Islam Makhachev just because he is the younger guy, and he's learning a lot in striking. And I think there's so much on film you could break down against Alexander Volkanovski once being in there with him. Obviously, same thing for Alexander Volkanovski, but he's not going to be as big as he once was. He's not going to be as strong as he once was when he first went in there against Islam Makhachev, which is going to benefit Islam Makhachev. There's all these other swing factors towards Islam Makhachev, with that on fact of Islam impressed me in the striking. So this is a hard one to predict, but I'm not ruling Volkanovski out. He's really quick. He's got very quick hands. And if Makhachev doesn't see him coming down straight down the pipe, Volk can't get him out of there. And like I said, I think he can win by decision, but I am going to go with Makhachev by decision. I'm going to say 49-45. He's going to get the takedowns. He's overall just going to find the correct positional control. I think Volk's going to be over-aggressive, and Makhachev's going to find great ways to time the takedowns. I hope Volkanovski wins, but I don't think that's the case. Thank you guys for watching this video. I will have 2 other videos breaking down the main and co-main event in further detail throughout this week, so look out for that, and I should have other videos out as well during this week. Thank you for your time, and as always, have a good one.